All right, let's dive into something really cool today. We're talking about auricular bioelectronic devices.
Itchy, right.
It's a mouthful, but it's really just a fancy way of saying your headphones are about to get a whole lot smarter.
Way smarter.
Yeah.
We're talking about the future of how we interact with our own bodies all through our ears.
It's like science fiction is becoming reality, and that's what we're breaking down in this deep dive. We dug into this dense research paper on the topic.
Dense is an understatement.
It really was, but someone had to do it. And now we're here to give you the highlights, the really cool stuff.
The stuff that'll make you see your headphones in a whole new light.
Exactly. Okay, so auricular bioelectronic devices. We're talking at the ear, obviously, but what makes our ears so special for this kind of tech? It's not like we're going to be plugging USB drives into our earlobes anytime soon, right?
Well, not exactly. But think about it. Your ear is already this incredibly sensitive and complex system.
We use it to hear, obviously.
Right. But it's more than that. It's packed with nerves, blood vessels, even lymphatic pathways.
Wait, really? Lymphatic stuff too, like the things that help fight off infections.
Yep. All crammed into this tiny space. It's kind of amazing when you think about it.
So what you're saying is our ears are like prime real estate for bioelectronic devices.
Exactly. Think about it. If we can tap into all those systems, we can gather so much information about what's happening inside our bodies.
Like real-time health monitoring just from wearing headphones.
Exactly. Heart rate, stress levels, even things like athletic performance, all trackable through your ear.
That's wild. But it gets even crazier. The paper also dives into something called auricular neuromodulation.
Okay, yeah, that one sounds straight out of Star Trek.
It does, doesn't it? But basically, we're not just talking about passively monitoring what's happening in our bodies anymore. We're talking about actively influencing it.
It's like going from reading a book to jumping into the story and changing the ending.
And that's where this transcutaneous auricular vagus nerve stimulation comes in, or TAVNS for short.
Try saying that 5 times fast.
I know, right? But clunky name aside, this TAVNS thing is pretty mind-blowing.
Totally. It all boils down to this one nerve, the vagus nerve.
Which is?
Only a major player in your body's internal communication highway.
Okay, so explain it like I'm 5.
Imagine your body's like a house, and the vagus nerve is all the wiring. It connects everything, sends signals back and forth.
So with TAVNS, we're basically sending little electrical messages through that wiring.
You got it. And these messages can influence everything from stress and inflammation
Which, let's be real, we could all use a little less of these days.
to things like sleep, focus, even mood.
So you're saying I could potentially zap myself into a calmer, more focused state just with my headphones.
That's the idea. The research is still ongoing, but it has incredible potential.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. Okay, I have to admit, this is all pretty mind-blowing. But how does this actually work? I mean, are we talking about little electrodes zapping our eardrums? Ouch.
Nothing quite so dramatic. Remember, we're talking about the vagus nerve, and it actually runs through the ear. So by stimulating it externally, we can influence the signals it's sending to the rest of the body.
Right, the vagus nerve, that internal control panel.
Yeah.
But what does that stimulation actually feel like? Are we talking about little shocks?
Not at all. It's much more subtle than that. Think of it more like a gentle nudge to your nervous system.
A nudge in the right direction, hopefully.
Exactly. See, the vagus nerve is a big part of what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's the part that helps us relax, recover, and basically chill out.
The opposite of fight or flight, right? Like when
Right.
we get stressed and our heart races.
Exactly. So with TAVNS, by stimulating the vagus nerve, we're essentially hitting the brakes on that stress response.
So it's like tricking our bodies into relaxing.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And because the vagus nerve is connected to so many different systems in the body, this can have a ripple effect.
Okay, now you're really getting my attention. What kind of ripple effect are we talking about? Give me some examples.
Well, imagine this. You're stressed out about a big presentation, your heart's racing, you can't focus, your palms are sweaty.
Oh, tell me about it. I know that feeling all too well.
Right, so what if, in that moment, your headphones could sense those stress signals? Maybe your heart rate variability changes and subtly stimulate your vagus nerve, helping you regain control.
Wait, hold on. It can sense when we're stressed? Like automatically?
That's the idea. We're talking about devices that can monitor our biosignals in real time and respond accordingly.
Okay, now that is next level. Didn't the paper mention that this TAVNS thing is already being explored for treating things like anxiety?
It is. It's showing promise for a whole range of conditions. But it's not just about TAVNS. The paper also talked about some other fascinating techniques. Have you heard of caloric vestibular stimulation, or CVS?
CVS, that one rings a bell, but I'm drawing a blank on what it actually is. Refresh my memory.
So CVS involves using temperature, either hot or cold, to stimulate the vestibular system.
The vestibular system, that's the one that controls our balance, right?
You got it.
Okay, I'm officially lost. How does messing with our sense of balance impact, well, anything else in our bodies?
I know it sounds strange, but bear with me. The vestibular system is actually intricately connected to other parts of the nervous system, including areas that regulate mood, pain, even consciousness.
Wow, okay. So we've got electrical stimulation, temperature stimulation. What else?
The research also touched on vibrotactile stimulation, basically using tiny vibrations delivered through the ear.
Vibrations. Interesting. I could see that being huge for things like assistive devices, maybe even new ways for people with hearing impairments to experience music.
Exactly. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Okay, so we're putting all this information into the body with these different types of stimulation, but how are we getting information out? That's where the bioelectronic part really comes in, right?
You got it. And just like with the stimulation tech, we've come a long way from those bulky, uncomfortable sensors of the past.
You mean like those EEG caps they used to make us wear in those Psych 101 experiments? Ugh, the worst.
Thankfully, we've moved on. We're now talking about tiny, discrete sensors that can be integrated into earbuds or even placed on the skin near the ear.
So we're talking about measuring brain waves, heart rate, all sorts of things, just from our ears.
Exactly. And the level of detail we can capture is pretty incredible. We're talking about measuring things like blood oxygen levels, even specific biochemical markers.
That's amazing. But it also seems like a lot of information. What do we do with all this data?
That's where the really cool stuff happens. We enter the world of closed-loop systems.
Closed-loop systems, okay, you're losing me a little.
Basically, it's about creating a continuous feedback loop between sensing and stimulation, all in real time. Imagine your headphones could not only monitor your stress levels, but actually respond to them by triggering calming vagus nerve stimulation.
So like a personalized, on-demand stress management system.
Exactly, and that's just the beginning.
Whoa, okay, so we're talking about headphones that could basically predict and head off a panic attack before it even hits? That's kind of amazing.
It's like having a little guardian angel for your mental health right there in your ears.
Sign me up. But seriously, this closed loop system, it's not just for anxiety, right?
Not even close.
Yeah.
The research talked about everything from chronic pain and sleep disorders.
Which, honestly, if it could fix my sleep, that'd be worth its weight in gold.
I hear you.
Yeah?
But it goes even further. They're even looking at using it for some neurological conditions like Parkinson's disease. It's really incredible stuff.
It does feel like we're on the verge of this huge shift in healthcare. Treatments that aren't just personalized, but like real-time responsive to what's happening in your body. It's wild.
It really is. But like any new tech, there are some hurdles we have to clear.
Yeah. I can imagine. What kind of hurdles are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, we have to make sure this technology is accessible to everyone, not just a select few who can afford the latest gadgets.
That's a really good point, because otherwise it just widens the gap between the haves and have-nots.
Exactly. And then there's the big one, data privacy.
Yes. The elephant in the room.
Exactly. We're talking about devices that are collecting incredibly personal data. I mean, this is information about your brain, your heart, your body's inner workings. We need to make sure that data is protected.
No kidding, because if that information falls into the wrong hands, things could get really scary really fast.
No doubt. So, robust security measures are non-negotiable. But beyond that, we also need transparency. People need to know what data is being collected, how it's being used, and who has access to it.
Right, because it's our bodies, our data. We should have a say in how it's used.
100%. It's a balancing act, for sure. Pushing the boundaries of innovation while also making sure we're doing it ethically and responsibly.
And that's on all of us, right? Not just the scientists and engineers.
Exactly. It's a conversation we all need to be a part of. What are we willing to accept? What are our limits? These are questions we all need to be asking.
It's both exciting and a little daunting, isn't it? This future we're stepping into. I mean, we have the potential to improve so many lives, to ease suffering, to help people in ways we never thought possible. But we have to be careful, too.
Couldn't said it better myself. A healthy dose of caution, a good amount of foresight,
Yeah.
but also a sense of wonder.
Because at the end of the day, it's about using technology to make our lives better, to help us be healthier, happier, maybe even unlock parts of ourselves we didn't know were there.
Well said. And who knows, maybe the key to all that is right there, in our ears, just waiting to be discovered.
It's been an amazing deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of auricular bioelectronics. It's a rapidly evolving field with mind-blowing potential, and we can't wait to see what the future holds. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep listening.
All right, buckle up, everybody, because we are diving deep into something really cool today. It's auricular bioelectronics. Ever think your headphones could be doing way more than just playing your music?
It's pretty wild, right? Feels like sci-fi, but it's becoming very, very real.
No kidding. We're talking headphones that could be tracking your health, treating some diseases, even letting you control computers with your mind. All this stuff straight out of a research paper we have here on auricular bioelectronic devices. So first off, why the ear? What makes it so special for this kind of tech?
You know, it's amazing our ears are already incredible, but this research shows they're even more amazing than we thought. It really all comes down to the anatomy.
The paper mentions something about a dense network of nerves, right?
Exactly, and not just any nerves. We're talking branches of the vagus nerve, and that nerve is like the super highway between your brain and a lot of your major organs. Mood, sleep, even digestion, inflammation. The vagus nerve is involved in all of that.
So hold on, are you saying by tapping into those nerves in the ear, we could actually influence what's happening in other parts of the body?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's insane.
And on top of that, our ears also have this unique network of arteries that are close to the surface, which makes them perfect for sensing and influencing our physiology. And think about it, everybody wears headphones now, they're everywhere. It just makes sense for integrating this tech seamlessly.
That's such a good point. No one wants some bulky implant or weird gadget, but earbuds, we're already used to those. So how does...
Well, one of the biggest areas is neuromodulation. Sounds super complicated, but it's basically gently influencing nerve activity.
Okay, so walk me through it.
Say you want to reduce stress. Researchers are using this technique called, get this, transcutaneous auricular vagus nerve stimulation, TADNS for short. Basically, it uses these tiny, painless electrical currents to stimulate those vagus nerve branches we were talking about in the ear.
So that stimulation travels up to the brain and changes the signals controlling our stress response.
You got it. The research shows it can actually regulate our mood, help us sleep better, even reduce inflammation. And the best part, new designs are making this way more comfortable.
I was just about to say, because I thought the older versions of this stuff were a little more... The paper mentioned something about an electrical biting sensation.
Yeah, not exactly a selling point. But luckily, researchers have made some huge leaps forward. Now they're using these hydrogel earbud electrodes, which are flexible, fit your ear, and are much gentler.
Okay, so it's like the difference between a little tap and actually being, well, bitten by electricity.
Exactly. And with these new comfy designs, we're seeing some really amazing results.
Like what?
Well, in one study, they used hydrogel earbuds with some specific audio stimulation, and they used them to treat tinnitus, you know, that constant ringing in your ear.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that must be awful.
And super common, unfortunately, no real cure for it. But this study actually showed some promising results. Combining that gentle stimulation with some customized audio actually made the tinnitus symptoms much less intense.
That is amazing for anyone dealing with that. What other exciting stuff are researchers looking into? So we've talked about treating conditions, but the paper says our ears aren't just good for stimulation. They're incredible for sensing what's going on inside us, too.
Like a hidden data dashboard we haven't even tapped into yet.
Okay, now you have to explain that one. What kind of data are we even talking about?
Think about the things we use wearables for now. Heart rate, sleep, stress levels. Auricular bioelectronics can do all that and a whole lot more. Remember those EEG readings that used to need that whole cap on your head with all the electrodes?
Yeah, it kind of looked like something out of Star Trek.
Right. But now they're putting those EEG sensors right into earbuds, can pick up on your brain activity without being so, well, obvious.
No more looking like you're about to launch into space just to track brain waves. I am here for it.
And it's not just EEG either. They're using PPG too. That's photoplethysmography.
I'm not even going to try that one.
Don't worry about it. Basically, it uses light to measure your heart rate through your skin like those fitness trackers, but way more fine-tuned.
Oh, so like a supercharged version of what we already have.
And here's the real kicker. These auricular devices aren't just taking one reading at a time.
You mean they can combine all of that data?
That's what I'm saying. Imagine it's tracking your brain waves with EEG, your heart rate with PPG, even your lactate levels, all of it, all at the same time from these tiny little earbuds.
Okay, that is both incredibly cool and just a little creepy, like having a tiny lab in my ear analyzing my every move.
It's definitely next level stuff, and it's not
Yeah.
just theoretical either. There was this one study where they made these custom molded EEG earbud electrodes, used optical scans of the ear canal.
Custom molded like those earplugs musicians use.
You got it. They fit perfectly, super comfortable. But get this, they were getting clinical grade data on brain activity.
Wait, you mean accurate enough that doctors could use it?
Exactly. The paper even mentions how these earbuds were picking up on epileptic activity.
Wow. Okay, now that is seriously life-saving technology.
And it gets even wilder. Imagine combining the sensing and the stimulation in a closed loop system.
Closed loop, meaning the device itself would actually react to what it was picking up and adjust the stimulation.
You catch it on quick. Basically like having a little doctor in your ear making adjustments as you go.
A tiny doctor in my ear, huh? Okay, I'll admit that's pretty impressive, but how would that even work in the real world?
Say your heart rate starts going a little crazy, the PPG sensors would pick it up right away. But instead of just sending some alert to your phone, it actually triggered the TVNS system to try and get your heart rate back to normal.
Wait, so it would be treating me without me even realizing?
Pretty much. Think of it like a built-in health guardian working behind the scenes.
That is wild. But something this advanced has to come with some downsides, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah. One of the big ones the paper talks about is cost. This level of personalized tech is still new, which usually means it's going to be pricey.
Makes sense. I wouldn't want to create a world where only some people can even get access to this kind of thing.
Exactly. Making sure everyone can benefit is something researchers are definitely thinking about. And then there's the data privacy aspect, too. I mean, these devices would be getting some incredibly personal info.
Way more than our phones are getting already.
Absolutely. We got to think about how that data is stored, who can see it, how to make sure it's used responsibly. Big questions for researchers, policymakers, all of us, really.
So it's not just about the tech itself, but the ethics of it all, too.
Exactly. But even with those challenges, the potential here is huge.
Feels like we're standing at the edge of something truly game-changing.
For sure. The paper even talks about how this could go beyond treating conditions and actually enhance what humans are capable of.
Like how?
Imagine your earbuds sensing you're losing focus and giving you a little cognitive boost with that TVNS.
So my headphones would be like my own personal brain coach.
Exactly. Think about what that could mean for learning, for work, for anything really.
The possibilities are mind-blowing. Where do we even go from here?
I think the big takeaway is that this is pushing us to rethink how we see our health, how we see technology. We're not just fixing what's broken anymore. We're talking about optimizing ourselves in ways we never could before.
A future full of exciting possibilities and some big questions, too.
Exactly. And those are the questions we need to be asking right now. If headphones are about to become our main tools for health, for well-being, how do we shape that future? How do we make sure it's a good one for everyone?
Definitely something to think about. So, to everyone listening, as we wrap up our deep dive into auricular bioelectronics, we'll leave you with this. What if your headphones weren't just for entertainment anymore, but powerful tools for your health, for reaching your full potential? What would that world look like to you? Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep asking those questions and diving deep. Hey there, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're putting on our headphones, at least hypothetically, to explore the world of auricular bioelectronics.
It's a fascinating field, really.
It really is. I mean, imagine your headphones doing more than just playing music, right? Imagine them monitoring your health or even like sharpening your focus and maybe even letting you control devices just with your thoughts.
It's remarkable how quickly this technology is evolving. I mean, think about it. We've gone from those big old clunky headsets, you know, the kind telephone operators used to wear,
Oh, yeah.
to earbuds that can track brain waves in just a few decades.
It's incredible.
And the research that we're diving into today, especially this paper on auricular bioelectronic devices, it really highlights just how much potential this technology has.
Yeah. And one thing I find really interesting is why the ear? Why is the ear such a good place for all this tech? I mean, I get that it's close to the brain, but There's got to be more to it than that, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like the ear is this hidden access point to the body's control panel.
Okay.
You've got this dense network of nerves and blood vessels, even parts of the lymphatic system, all right there, easy to reach.
Oh, wow.
It's like a biological superhighway for information, and we're just starting to figure out how to tap into it.
So it's not just about listening in then.
Yeah.
We're talking about sending signals back, right?
Yeah.
Like giving our bodies instructions, almost like through our headphones.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting with techniques like TVNS.
TVNS.
Yeah, it stands for transcutaneous auricular vagus nerve stimulation.
Okay, so what does that even mean?
Well, think of it like this. The vagus nerve is this major communication pathway between your brain and your body. It does all sorts of things, regulates heart rate, digestion, you name it.
Right.
With TVNS, we can use these tiny little electrical impulses to influence this nerve. And that has the potential to treat a whole range of conditions, everything from anxiety and insomnia to even chronic pain.
It's like hitting the reset button on your nervous system.
No way, yeah.
But isn't there like a risk of discomfort? I mean, wouldn't having electrodes stuck in your ear be, kind of unpleasant?
That's a good point. Comfort has been a real hurdle in developing TVNS. Earlier devices, well, they weren't exactly known for being comfortable, let's just say that.
Right.
But the good news is material science is really changing the game here. Researchers are making incredible progress with things like conductive hydrogels. Imagine a material that's soft and flexible, it molds to the shape of your ear, and it can deliver those electrical impulses comfortably.
So instead of those clunky electrodes, it's more like wearing like a custom-made earbud.
Exactly. And that's the kind of innovation that's going to be key to making TVNS a real treatment option for all sorts of conditions.
That's amazing. But let's talk about the sensing capabilities of these devices too, right? Like, I know we've already got earbuds that track your heart rate when you're working out, but it seems like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Oh, for sure we are. And what's really fascinating is the role the ear itself plays in all of this. You see, the ear canal is surprisingly stable.
Stable how?
Temperature-wise and even in terms of the data it can provide. Combine that with how close it is to major arteries, sweat glands, the inner ear. It's like a goldmine of information. We just need to learn how to mine it.
So it's not just listening. It's using the ear as a window into what's going on in the rest of the body. What kind of information are we talking about?
Think about it. Your sweat, it's got electrolytes, metabolites, all these chemical messengers that can tell us about stress levels, hydration, even early signs of disease.
Wow.
And then there's the potential for, get this, in-ear EEG.
In-ear EEG. Hold on, what's that?
Measuring your brain waves, but with a level of accuracy and comfort that those traditional EEG caps just can't match.
Okay, you're going to have to slow down for me because in-ear EEG sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Are you saying that someday my headphones could be reading my mind while I'm listening to music?
Well, not quite reading your mind, but yeah.
Okay.
These custom-fitted earbud EEG systems, they're already being used in research. They can monitor epileptic seizures, track sleep patterns, even provide real-time neurofeedback.
Neurofeedback. That sounds intense. What does that even entail? Is it like my headphones are going to start giving me pep talks based on my brainwaves?
Well, maybe not pep talks, but it's a similar idea. Imagine your headphones sensing you're getting stressed out just from your brainwave patterns.
Yeah.
And then they subtly adjust the music you're listening to, or even emit calming tones to help you relax. That's the power of neurofeedback, using technology to help us understand and even regulate our own brain activity.
It's almost like having a personal meditation coach right there in your ear,
Yeah.
But with all this talk about personalized health and brainwave optimization and all that, it's easy to get ahead of ourselves.
You're right. It's important to keep things in perspective.
Yeah.
We've been focusing on the amazing potential of this technology, but like with any powerful tool, there are always challenges and implications to consider.
Right. We don't want to end up like a Black Mirror episode where our headphones take over or something.
Exactly. So what are some of those hurdles researchers are facing in bringing auricular bioelectronics to the masses?
Okay, good question. What are some of the challenges?
Well, reliability is a big one.
Reliability, okay.
These devices, they're meant to be worn all the time, right? And they need to work perfectly in all sorts of situations,
Yeah.
sweat, movement, even just the natural variations in our ears, all that can throw things off.
That makes sense.
And if we're talking about health and well-being, we need reliable data, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like if your fitness tracker only worked half the time, You wouldn't trust it very much, would you?
Exactly. So how do we make these devices more reliable then? Researchers are working on this from a few different angles. They're developing these really robust sensors that can handle the wear and tear of daily life.
Okay.
Plus, they're creating these sophisticated algorithms that can actually filter out noise and inconsistencies in the data. So even if conditions aren't perfect, you're still getting accurate information.
That's good to know. But reliability is not the only issue, is it? I mean, battery life has got to be a major concern, right? Especially with all those sensors and processors crammed into something so small.
Absolutely. No one wants to be tethered to a charger all day long. Luckily, battery tech is getting better all the time, smaller, more efficient. Plus, researchers are getting creative and looking at alternative energy sources, even harvesting energy from, like, body heat or movement.
Wow, so your headphones could charge while you work out.
Exactly.
That would be pretty cool. But let's talk about the big one, the elephant in the room, which is data privacy. I mean, we're talking about devices that are collecting some incredibly personal information about our bodies and minds. How do we make sure that data is kept safe, that it's used responsibly?
It's the million-dollar question, for sure. And it's a conversation we need to be having right now as this tech develops. We need to set clear rules for data security and privacy, make sure users have control over their own information, and that it's not being shared or sold without their consent.
Right. It's like anything else in the digital world, we need to establish some ground rules, right,
Absolutely.
to prevent misuse and make sure this technology is being used for good. But data privacy isn't the only ethical issue here, is it?
No, not at all. We also need to think about things like equitable access. We don't want to see a future where these incredible, life-changing technologies are only available to the wealthy, right? We need to be very aware of affordability and accessibility so everyone can benefit from these advances, regardless of how much money they make.
For sure, it's about leveling the playing field, making sure this technology doesn't end up creating bigger gaps in society.
Yeah.
But even with those challenges, the potential benefits here are just, they're too big to ignore.
I completely agree. And that's exactly why we need to be having these discussions right now while this technology is still relatively new. By addressing these challenges head on, we can help steer it in the right direction, a direction that benefits all of humanity.
Well said. Now, before we go too far down the rabbit hole of ethical considerations, let's circle back for a second to some of the specific applications that have you really excited about this technology. One that I thought was super interesting was the potential for auricular bioelectronics to actually enhance cognitive performance. It sounds like something out of like a science fiction novel, boosting our brain power with our headphones.
It does, doesn't it? But the research is really interesting. Think about it. Imagine a surgeon who's about to perform a really delicate procedure, or a firefighter rushing into a burning building. Their cognitive abilities, things like focus, decision-making, stress management, those are critical in those moments. What if auricular bioelectronics could give them an edge?
Okay, so we're talking about potentially enhancing these really important brain functions with something as non-invasive as a pair of headphones. How would that even work?
Well, we talked about TVNS earlier and its ability to influence the vagus nerve. Well, it turns out that stimulating the vagus nerve in specific ways, especially when it's combined with real-time brainwave monitoring, can actually change brain activity in ways that boost cognitive performance.
So it's not about giving people superpowers or anything. It's more like fine-tuning how the brain works, helping it function at its best.
Exactly. And the really cool thing about this technology is that it can be personalized and adapt in real time. Imagine your headphones sensing your focus slipping while you're studying and then subtly adjusting the stimulation to help you concentrate again.
Wow.
Or picture this. You're about to give a big presentation, you're nervous, and your headphones detect a spike in anxiety and trigger a calming protocol to help you stay cool and collected.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal brain trainer in your ear, monitoring everything, making adjustments to help you be at your best. But this isn't just about high-stress situations, is it?
Nope, not at all. This technology could completely change education, help students learn more effectively. It could even help treat cognitive decline that happens as we age, or that's associated with neurodegenerative diseases.
This is seriously revolutionary stuff. We could be talking about changing the way we learn, the way we work, even the way we age. That's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is, and the most exciting part is we're just getting started with auricular bioelectronics. Who knows what incredible breakthroughs are just around the corner?
I can't wait to find out. This deep dive has been amazing. We've gone from the history of headphones to the cutting edge of bioelectronics and beyond. But before we get completely carried away dreaming about the future of, brain-boosting headphones, we do need to acknowledge there are potential risks and ethical dilemmas to consider. We've touched on data privacy and equitable access, but there's so much more to think about as these devices become even more sophisticated, more integrated into our lives.
You're absolutely right. With great power comes great responsibility. This technology is no exception. We can't just focus on the good stuff. We need to think about the downsides too, and figure out how to prevent unintended consequences.
So where do we even start? What are some of the ethical considerations we need to be thinking about as this technology becomes more common?
One big concern is the possibility of coercion or manipulation. What happens when employers start requiring their workers to wear brain monitoring headphones to track productivity, or governments using these devices to keep tabs on citizens' emotional states? It's a scary thought.
It is a scary thought. It's like we need to set some really clear boundaries around how this technology can and can't be used. People need to have control over their own data, their own cognitive experiences.
Exactly. Individual autonomy and well-being need to be our top priorities as this technology develops.
Another thing that worries me is the potential for this to worsen existing social divides. If these devices can boost cognitive abilities, could they end up giving an unfair advantage to those who can afford them?
It's a valid concern. What if wealthy families are giving their kids brain-boosting headphones, giving them a leg up in school? Or access to cognitive enhancement becomes just another perk for the privileged. We have to be proactive, address these potential inequalities head on. This technology needs to benefit everyone, not just a select few.
It's like we don't want to create a world where there are the enhanced and the unenhanced. We need to be very careful about how we develop and distribute this technology to make sure it doesn't make existing social problems even worse.
You've hit the nail on the head. We need to be thinking about the potential consequences for individuals and society as a whole every step of the way.
It's a lot to think about, but these are conversations that we can't afford to ignore. And the time to have them is now, while this technology is still in its early stages.
I couldn't agree more. We have a real opportunity here to shape the future of this technology, to make sure it's used for good.
So much to consider, right?
Yeah.
The potential is huge, but so are the ethical questions, like we said. Data privacy, access, even the potential for someone controlling other people's minds with this tech. But even with all that, I gotta say, I'm still really excited about the possibilities. This feels like it could be really groundbreaking.
It's definitely a really exciting time to be looking at this stuff. This research paper gave us a good overview, but I feel like we're really just scratching the surface. There's so much more to uncover.
Exactly. Like, what about all those other neural pathways in the ear that we haven't even explored yet? There's got to be more to it than just the vagus nerve, right?
Oh, absolutely. The research mentioned the auriculotemporal nerve, which is involved in pain perception.
Okay.
So, could we use auricular bioelectronics to find new ways to manage chronic pain? Maybe even replace medication for some people, which would be huge considering the side effects a lot of those drugs have.
Wow, pain management with headphones. That would be amazing for so many people. And, we talked about sweat as a way to track stress and hydration and all that. Could we take that even further? Like, what if we could have sensors that pick up on early signs of disease just by analyzing the chemicals in our sweat?
That's a fascinating idea. Imagine if we could detect diseases earlier without needing invasive procedures. It could completely change how we approach healthcare. We could shift from reacting to illness to actually staying ahead of it.
It's mind-blowing. And speaking of pushing boundaries, what about enhancing our senses? I mean, we already have noise-canceling headphones, but what if we could, amplify certain sounds?
Yeah.
Like you could hear your friend's voice in a crowded room, even if they're whispering, or a parent could hear their baby cry, even with a lot of background noise.
And what about sensory experiences beyond what humans are even capable of perceiving? What if we could create sensors that let us hear ultrasonic frequencies or even electromagnetic fields? We could experience the world in a whole new way.
It's pretty wild to think about, right? But as we've been saying all along, we have to be cautious too. There are definitely ethical considerations to keep in mind as this technology keeps advancing.
Couldn't agree more. As we learn more about the brain and develop these powerful technologies, we have to make sure they're used ethically and responsibly for the good of humanity.
Absolutely. We need to be mindful of the consequences of our actions and make thoughtful choices about the kind of future we want to create.
And that future, it's something we're all creating together. Having these conversations, exploring the possibilities, thinking about the risk, that's how we make sure these incredible advancements are used for good.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of auricular bioelectronics. It's a field with so much potential, but it's up to all of us to make sure it's used wisely.
Well said. And to everyone listening out there, keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and let's keep the conversation going.
All right, earphone aficionados, get ready for a deep dive. We're going to be talking about a future where your headphones do way more than just play music.
Way more.
We're talking about auricular bioelectronics,
Yeah.
where those tiny buds you wear become like gateways to health and wellness and maybe even like enhanced abilities.
It's amazing, isn't it? This research paper we're diving into today really highlights how scientists are like tapping into the power of our ears in ways we never imagined.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. We're constantly plugged in using headphones for music, podcast calls. But what if they could also help us manage stress, improve our focus,
Exactly.
or even treat chronic pain?
Yeah, it's not science fiction anymore. And it all starts with appreciating just how complex and powerful the human ear truly is.
Right. It's way more than just a pathway for sound waves. Like I was recently reading about Ernst Mercadier. He invented this thing back in the 1890s called the bitelephone.
Oh, yes. Those massive contraptions used by switchboard operators.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think how far we've come.
Seriously.
Yeah.
From those clunky boxes to the sleek earbuds we have today.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really cool. This evolution in design kind of mirrors this parallel shift in how we're starting to understand the potential of the ear itself.
Absolutely. When we talk about auricular bioelectronics, we're talking about this intricate network of nerves, blood vessels, and the ear's close proximity to the brain, all of which makes it an ideal location for interacting with the body in new ways.
Okay, so let's break this down. What's so special about the nerves in our ears?
Well, you have this one major player called the vagus nerve. You can think of it like a super highway of information connecting your brain to your heart, lungs, digestive system, basically, a whole lot of vital organs.
Whoa, so we're not just talking about hearing here. This one nerve is tied to a ton of essential bodily functions. But why the ear? Why is the vagus nerve accessible through the ear?
It's fascinating, isn't it? A key branch of the vagus nerve is actually located right there in the ear canal, making it a surprisingly direct route for influencing these different systems.
That is wild. This is like discovering a secret back door to our own nervous system.
Right.
So how do we actually tap into this? So we've got this like secret passage to our nervous system, but how do we actually use it? Are we talking about like sticking tiny wires into our ears?
Not exactly. That's where this whole field of neuromodulation comes in.
Okay.
This research paper really delves into how we can use technology to gently influence the activity of nerves, including that vagus nerve we were just talking about.
Neuromodulation.
Well, yeah.
It sounds intense,
Yeah.
like something out of a sci-fi movie. What exactly are we modulating here?
Think of it like this.
Right.
Imagine being able to fine-tune the signals traveling along your nerves.
Okay.
Kind of like adjusting the bass and treble on a sound system to get the perfect balance.
Gotcha.
One way to do this, and the paper focuses on this quite a bit, is through something called TVNS.
TVNS. Okay, that one needs a bit more explanation. What is it and how does it actually work?
TVNS stands for transcutaneous auricular vagus nerve stimulation.
Okay.
It's a bit of a mouthful, but it essentially involves using tiny, barely perceptible electrical currents delivered through the ear to stimulate that branch of the vagus nerve we were talking about.
So we're sending little electrical messages directly to this neural superhighway.
Exactly.
What kind of impact can that have? What can we actually do with this technology?
The potential is truly remarkable. Early research shows TVNS is promising in treating a range of conditions.
Okay.
We're talking about things like inflammation, including the kind associated with long COVID, stress, anxiety, even potentially boosting cognitive function.
Hold on. Are you saying that by stimulating this one nerve through the ear, we could potentially treat things as diverse as chronic inflammation and brain fog? But this sounds almost too good to be true.
It's definitely exciting, but it's important to remember that research is ongoing.
Right.
However, early results are very promising.
Yeah.
For example, some studies have shown that TVNS can improve memory recall and enhance focus during mentally demanding tasks.
Wow. That's incredible. So instead of relying on endless cups of coffee, maybe we'll all be donning our Tavian S earbuds to power through those deadlines in the future.
Right.
But let's talk about the devices themselves.
Sure.
Are we talking about bulky headsets with wires and electrodes? Because that's not exactly my style.
Yeah, I hear you. And thankfully, technology has come a long way.
Oh?
Early Tavian S devices were a bit clunky, but the latest advancements use these incredible materials called hydrogels.
Hydrogels. Okay, I'll admit, I'm not familiar with those.
Yeah.
What exactly are they, and what makes them so special for this kind of technology?
Imagine a material that's incredibly soft and comfortable, almost like a second skin,
Okay.
but also capable of conducting those tiny electrical currents needed for Tavian S.
So instead of those stiff electrode-covered headsets, we could have something that feels like, say, a comfortable pair of earbuds.
Exactly. Hydrogels are revolutionizing how we design these devices,
Wow.
making them not just effective, but also something you'd actually want to wear.
Right.
In fact, there are already companies like Nuvana and Nemos
Yep.
developing sleek, user-friendly Tavian S devices that incorporate hydrogels for maximum comfort.
That's impressive. It sounds like we're moving away from those clinical-looking contraptions and into the realm of stylish wearables.
Right.
But this research paper we're discussing, it goes beyond just electrical stimulation, right?
You're right.
It talks about other ways we can influence the body through the ear.
We've been focusing on electrical stimulation,
Yeah.
but the ear is sensitive to more than just electricity.
Right.
This paper explores two other fascinating techniques: caloric vestibular stimulation, or CVS,
Oop.
and haptic stimulation.
CVS, haptic stimulation. Okay, those sound intriguing. What are they all about?
Well, CVS involves using precise temperature changes
Okay.
to stimulate the inner ear, which plays a crucial role in our balance and spatial awareness.
So we're essentially using temperature to send signals to the inner ear.
That's right.
What kind of applications are we talking about here?
One promising area is in treating conditions like Parkinson's disease, which often involves tremors and difficulty with balance.
Right.
Imagine headphones that could help someone regain their ability to walk steadily just by using carefully controlled temperature changes.
That's incredible. It's amazing to think that something as simple as temperature could have such a profound impact.
Right.
But what about haptic stimulation? What's that all about?
Haptic stimulation is all about using vibrations to convey information.
Okay.
Think about the subtle buzzes you feel on your phone. It's a way of communicating directly through touch.
Right.
Researchers are now exploring how we can apply this concept to the ear.
So instead of just hearing sounds through our headphones, we could actually feel vibrations that convey specific information. That's wild. What are some of the potential uses for that?
The possibilities are vast. Imagine feeling directions through your headphones instead of hearing them.
Wow.
This could be a game changer for navigation, especially for people who are deaf or hard of hearing.
Right.
In fact, there's already a prototype device called the Active Earring that uses haptic vibrations to create a kind of spatial awareness.
An active earring. That sounds like something straight out of a spy movie.
Right.
What else could we use this kind of technology for?
Think about virtual reality.
Okay.
Haptic feedback through the ears could add a whole new dimension of immersion,
Right.
allowing you to feel the environment around you rather than just seeing and hearing it.
Wow, that would be incredible. It sounds like we're on the cusp of a whole new era of sensory experiences.
Definitely.
But so far, we've mostly been talking about using these devices to send signals to the body.
Yeah.
What about receiving information? Can our ears really be listening to what's happening inside us?
That's a fantastic question. And it brings us to a whole other level of this field, one that could revolutionize how we monitor and manage our health.
Okay, so we've talked about like turning our ears into these high-tech control panels,
Yeah.
sending signals to, tweak our nervous systems,
Right.
and even influence our balance.
Yeah.
But you're saying we can also turn them into these incredibly precise listening devices.
Yeah, definitely.
What exactly can our ears hear about what's going on inside us?
It's incredible what we can pick up with the right sensors.
Yeah.
We've already talked about using earbuds for things like tracking heart rate
Right.
and even lactate levels during workouts.
Right.
But this research paper takes it a step further,
Okay.
especially when it comes to monitoring brain activity.
Brain activity. I'm picturing those EEG setups with electrodes all over the scalp.
Yeah.
Not exactly something you'd wear while, out for a jog or...
Exactly. Traditional EEG can be cumbersome.
Right.
But imagine this comfortable earbuds that can monitor your brainwaves throughout the day.
Okay.
giving you insights into your focus, your stress levels,
Right.
even sleep quality,
Right.
all in real time.
Wow.
That's the promise of in-ear EG.
In-ear EG. So no more looking like Doc Brown from Back to the Future with wires coming out of my head.
Exactly.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
But seriously, how accurate can those readings really be?
That's a great question, and the research is really promising.
Okay.
For example, a team led by Joyner created these custom-fitted silicone earbud EEG devices
Okay.
and tested them on patients with epilepsy.
Epilepsy. So we're talking about serious medical applications here, not just like lifestyle tracking.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And what they found was remarkable.
Okay.
These earbuds could accurately detect seizure activity,
Whoa.
offering a discreet and comfortable way to monitor patients continuously.
Wow.
They were getting data comparable to traditional scalp setups,
Right.
but in a form factor that people could actually wear comfortably long term.
That's a game changer for folks with epilepsy.
Yeah.
But the paper also mentioned a researcher named Wang
Yes.
and something called spirally.
Yes.
What's that all about?
Spinal is fascinating.
Yeah.
Wang and his team essentially engineered a new type of in-ear EEG electrode
Okay.
using shape memory polymers.
Okay.
Imagine a material that can actually mold to the unique contours of your ear canal, creating this incredibly comfortable and snug fit.
So it's like a custom molded earplug that just happens to be recording your brainwaves with incredible accuracy.
Exactly.
That's wild. What's
Yeah.
the advantage of that over, say, Joyner's silicone earbuds?
That snug fit is key. It allows Spiral to pick up much fainter brain signals
Okay.
than previously possible with in-ear EEG.
Right.
And they've already tested it with some promising results for things like brain-computer interfaces.
Brain-computer interface. Okay, now we're getting really futuristic.
Yeah.
What could we actually do with that kind of technology combined with these, like, super sensitive earbuds?
Imagine controlling your music player with your mind
Okay.
just by thinking about skipping to the next track or
Yeah.
getting real-time feedback on your stress levels during like a big presentation.
Okay.
And using that information to, center yourself.
Right.
The possibilities are mind-blowing.
It sounds like we're on the verge of this incredible feedback loop
Yeah.
where our headphones are not just listening to our brains,
Right.
but also like using that information to help us live healthier,
Right.
more productive lives.
That's exactly where this field is headed, towards what we call closed-loop auricular bioelectronics.
Okay.
It's about creating devices that not only monitor our bodies,
Right.
but also use that information to automatically make adjustments and improve our well-being.
Closed loop auricular bioelectronics. It has a nice ring to it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like the ultimate personalized health system.
Right.
What kind of applications are we talking about here? Give me some examples.
Imagine a device that detects an irregular heartbeat and automatically uses TAVNS to gently nudge your heart rate back into a healthy rhythm,
Okay.
or sensors that identify stress hormones and trigger calming stimulation in real time,
Right.
helping you stay cool, calm, and collected during a stressful day.
It's like having a personal health assistant built right into your ears,
Right.
constantly monitoring and optimizing things behind the scenes so you can focus on, living your life.
Precisely.
Ah,
And the potential goes even further.
Okay.
Researchers are exploring closed-loop systems for managing chronic pain,
okay.
treating sleep apnea,
Right.
even enhancing focus and attention in real time.
This is incredible. We've gone from clunky telephone operator headphones to devices that could, like, reshape our health and even enhance our abilities in ways we're only just beginning to imagine.
It's a truly remarkable field.
Yeah.
And it really makes you wonder, what will our future headphones be capable of?
That is the question, isn't it? As someone who's, like, always plugged in,
Right.
it's both exciting and a little bit mind-boggling to think about the possibilities.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where our headphones aren't just devices,
Right.
but like extensions of ourselves,
Yeah.
subtly guiding our health, enhancing our senses, and maybe even shaping our emotions.
It's a future full of potential.
Right.
And it seems we're well on our way.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of auricular bioelectronics. Until next time, keep those ears perked and those minds curious.
What if I told you the key to unlocking a healthier, happier you might be hiding in plain sight? Or should I say sound?
Ah, intriguing. I'm all ears.
Today we're going deep into the world of auricular bioelectronics.
Auricular bioelectronics.
Okay, it's a field that could completely change how we monitor, manage, even enhance well-being, all through the power of our ears.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention. It's like, what, having a tiny high-tech health hub right in your ear.
Exactly. Our source material, a scientific paper we found, dives deep into this cutting-edge tech.
And I bet it's pretty mind-blowing stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was blown away by what I learned. But before we get into all the details about nerve stimulation and biosensors,
Right.
let's rewind a bit.
Little history lesson.
No.
Love it. Always good to know how we got to where we are now.
For sure. I mean, it's wild to think something as, normal as headphones could lead to this incredible technology.
Yeah. It all started way back in the 1890s with, get this, the bi-telephone. Basically the OG headphones.
The OG headphones. I love it.
Right. These early devices were, well, a far cry from those sleek earbuds we've got nowadays.
I can imagine.
More like a stethoscope, but, stuck to your head.
Oh, wow. But hey, they served a purpose.
They did. Connecting those busy telephone operators to their switchboards. Vital back then. And it's amazing how tech meant for one thing can spark something totally different.
It's true. The evolution of headphones is a perfect example.
Totally. From those clunky models, we saw things like naval communications getting a boost, thanks to Nathaniel Baldwin, early 1900s.
Right.
Then, boom, 1958, John Koss shakes things up with the first stereo headphones. Changed how we experience music. Forever.
And we can't forget when the FDA gave the green light to over-the-counter hearing aids.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Really blurred the lines between, everyday tech and actual medical devices.
Huge moment, yep. And more recently, actually just on September 17th, Apple's AirPods Pro 2 got the okay as an over-the-counter hearing aid, too.
Wow, really?
Yeah, big deal. Shows how personal tech and healthcare are, merging right before our eyes.
Absolutely. So we've gone from, clunky operator headsets to devices that can actually help us hear better. But get this, it gets even cooler. Turns out our ears are good for way more than just hearing.
Oh, tell me more, because I'm hooked.
Are like a biological shortcut to understanding and even influencing our well-being, our health.
You could say that again. A bioelectronic gold mine. That's where our ears are.
Yeah.
And we're just scratching the surface.
A bioelectronic gold mine. You've got to be kidding me. I never thought of my ears like that.
Right. It's wild.
It's like we've had these, incredible bio interfaces this whole time just hanging out on the sides of our heads.
And we had no clue. Well, not until recently.
Exactly. So it's not just about what we hear with our ears, but what our ears can tell us about, us, your health. Or
okay. It's imagine your ear as this, super intricate control panel, right? Perfectly positioned right next to the brain, packed with all these nerves and blood vessels.
There's a direct line to the brain, basically.
Exactly. Giving us a real-time look at what's going on inside.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin to, tap into all of that?
Well, let's talk about the vagus nerve. For starters, I mean, you've probably heard of it, right?
Vaguely. No pun intended.
Right. It's this long nerve, kind of wanders all over, acts like a superhighway between the brain and a bunch of our vital organs.
Okay. Like what?
Heart, lungs, digestive system, you name it. It's connected.
So it's like a major player in keeping everything running smoothly.
Exactly. A central communication hub for the body.
Okay, I'm following you. But what does this have to do with our ears?
So there's this key branch of the vagus nerve called the auricular branch, or ABVN for short. And guess what? It's accessible through the ear.
Wait, seriously?
Yep.
So by accessing the vagus nerve through the ear, we can tap into this whole communication network you're talking about.
Bingo. And that's what makes auricular bioelectronics so groundbreaking. By stimulating the ABVN just a little bit with tiny electrical impulses,
Okay.
we can potentially influence a whole range of bodily functions.
So it's like sending little messages along the vagus nerve, telling our bodies to chill out, de-stress.
You got it. Reduce inflammation even.
That's incredible. Are we talking about things like anxiety, depression, chronic pain?
You're getting it. All of that. Even inflammatory disorders. What if we could treat those things not with tons of medications or invasive procedures, but with something we wear in our ears?
That would be revolutionary.
Right.
But it's not just stimulation, is it? We can also use sensors to gather information real time about what's going on.
Now you're really thinking. That's where those tiny but mighty sensors come into play.
Okay, so let's talk sensors. What kind of information are we talking about here? And how does that translate into, like, real-world applications? Okay, sensors. They're, like, everywhere these days, right?
Everywhere.
Tracking our steps, heart rate, how well we're sleeping, even. But actually listening to our bodies through sensors in our ears.
Next level stuff.
Next level is right. It really is.
For sure.
It's like, imagine a tiny device right there in your ear, picking up on all these subtle changes.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it. Like, we're talking insights into your health we could only dream of before.
Exactly. And it's not just about counting steps or calories.
Right.
These sensors can detect things like, are you stressed? Fatigued?
Even those really, really early signs of illness that you might not even notice otherwise.
Oh, wow. So much more than just like a fitness tracker on your wrist.
Way more.
This is like a constant stream of information.
And because it's constant, it paints a much clearer picture of your health than those one-off checkups, you know?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So like having this ongoing dialogue with your body.
A dialogue, exactly.
Understanding the rhythms, the patterns. Okay, so what kind of sensors are we talking about specifically?
Well, one of the most exciting areas, EEG sensors. You know what those are.
Yeah, they measure brain activity, right?
Exactly. And we can do that through the ear canal now. It's amazing.
Wow.
We can learn about your focus, stress levels, even what's going on when you're sleeping.
Hold on. So instead of those like kind of clunky EEG caps.
Yeah, the ones with all the electrodes.
Yeah, exactly.
Not exactly fashionable.
Not at all. We could have something as small as an earbud doing the same thing.
That's the future we're talking about. And it's not just about being discreet either.
Okay.
This kind of brain activity monitoring in real time.
Yeah.
It could change how we deal with things like anxiety, ADHD, even sleep disorders.
That's amazing. But EEG sensors, that's not the only type, right?
No.
Yeah.
We've got optical sensors too. Researchers are putting those into auricular devices now.
Okay, what do those do?
So they use light, which is pretty cool, to measure things like heart rate, oxygen saturation, all that good stuff.
So it really is like having a fitness tracker, but like integrated into something you might already be wearing anyway?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more comfortable than that chest strap.
For sure.
Oh, and let's not forget chemical sensors.
Yeah.
Remember how we talked about all that blood flow in the ear?
Yeah.
Well, researchers are now working on sensors that can pick up on tiny, tiny traces of things in your sweat through the ear.
Wow. Like what? What kind of things?
Lactate, for one. That's a big one for exercise. Shows how your body's handling it.
Interesting. So our ears could basically tell us in the moment how our bodies are reacting to exercise or stress even.
You got it. And it doesn't end there. Down the road, we could even be detecting things like stress hormones, maybe even like drug metabolites. It's incredible.
That is incredible. The possibilities are, wow, pretty much endless.
They really are. And the best part is this isn't just about monitoring anymore. It's about action. It's about creating what we call closed-loop systems.
Closed-loop systems.
Yeah, they can actually sense and respond in real time to what's happening in your body.
Give me an example.
Okay, so picture this. A device that not only sees an irregular heartbeat, but automatically uses a little vagus nerve stimulation to get it back on track.
Oh, wow.
Or let's say your stress hormones are through the roof, the device senses that, and bam, adjusts your music, the lighting, whatever it needs to do to chill you out.
That's like next level personalized care.
Exactly. Like having a personal health coach right there in your ear 24/7.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
Yes.
I mean, who knew? Our ears held so much potential.
It really is amazing what we're learning about the human body all the time.
It really is. It makes you wonder, if your headphones could actually listen to your body and your brain, how would you want them to help you live a healthier, happier, more fulfilling life? That's something to ponder, isn't it? Until next time, keep exploring.